What's up, guys? How we doing? I'm sorry I didn't upload a video yesterday. I needed a day off. I needed a day where I just took care of Persephone and just zoned the fuck out on something. I haven't had that day, and I don't even know how long. So I just needed a day, a hard reset. No, my sleep schedule's been getting out of hand, and just needed a day where I wasn't worried about working, wasn't worried about making videos, streaming, just focused on Persephone. So, but today I figured we would do some more Reddit advice, and specifically, I want to talk about relationships because I know I got some subscribers going through some relationship issues. So, let's dive in. You boss, and you know who you are, but I wanted to read this because I feel like it has to do with your situation. All right? Stop being jealous of your avoidant ex. For real. I get it. I've been there too. My ex left like it was nothing, blocked me on everything, walked away with a goodbye letter and a clean conscience. Meanwhile, I was on the floor of our shared home, barely sleeping, barely eating, completely unraveling. She was traveling, smiling in photos, healing, and I was still trying to save something she had already walked away from. And I remember thinking, she won. She's stronger. Why am I the one drowning? Avoidance looked like power. But now, almost a year later, I know the truth. That wasn't strength. That was emotional debt. And someone always pays. What I didn't see back then, she didn't feel less. She just had less access to her feelings. And that's not a superpower. That's a prison. I grieved because I actually attached, loved, hoped my pain was real. My heartbreak was a sign of something genuine. So I bled, I read, wrote, trained, cried, journaled. I showed up for the wreckage, and over time, I got free. Not fast, not pretty, but real. Her silence, that didn't become peace, that became numbness. And you know what happens when the noise dies down? The echo starts. Avoidance often don't feel the loss until you stop showing up. And by then, you're no longer there to catch them. So if you're thinking they've moved on and I'm still here bleeding, why does this destroy me and barely touch them? Am I too much? Let me say this clearly. Your pain is not weakness. It's proof that you felt, that you connected, that you were all in. And if you keep going, if you choose the work, the reflection, the heartbreak, you won't just get over them. You'll find yourself. So no, don't envy the ones who seem untouched, because one day when you're thriving, calm, clear, and whole, and they're just starting to feel what they couldn't process back then, they'll realize they lost you the moment they couldn't face you. You found yourself the moment you did. And there is nothing enviable about running from your own. This is important, and this is what I've been trying to say. And it took me a lot of failed relationships to realize this, but I recognized this with my wife. My wife cheated on me and she left. And she seemed happy as hell, right? Obviously. She's got someone else. She didn't ever actually emotionally deal with the pain of us breaking up. She just hopped to a different guy to avoid dealing with that pain. Meanwhile, I'm here taking care of our daughter, trying to hold down the place we just moved into, dealing with it. Not drinking, not meeting someone new, dealing with it, going through it. And I knew, and I told her, I want what's best for you. You're the mother of my child, and I want you to be able to emotionally go through this. But you're never going to if you just bounce from one guy to the other. You're going to put it off. You're going to put off dealing with the pain, and that's what it is it's putting off dealing with the fucking pain. And when you're sitting here crying, laying awake at night, wondering what you could have done to make her happy, and she's off, or he, they're just, filling their void they look happy and strong and put together while you're sitting here crying because they have a crutch. You don't. You're actually dealing with it. So by the time that crutch wears off, by the time you've moved on, they will start to feel it. They will just now start to go through what you've been going through for that entire time. And by then, you'll have dealt with the pain. You'll have went through it. You'll have came out the other side a better person, while they are just now starting to feel it because they see that you've moved on. See, when you're looking at her post, when you're thinking about her and worried, like, God damn, she's already on somebody new and she's posting it all over Instagram. That's what she wants. She wants to perceive herself in a way like she's already moved on, that she's happy right now, and you're back home crying, wondering why the fuck can't you move on. She hasn't moved on. He hasn't moved on. They're just avoiding dealing with their pain, while you actually are. And they know that you seeing them with someone else hurts. So not only are they refusing to deal with their pain, but they're also manipulating you into feeling even more. But what's going to happen is you're going to go through it. You're going to come out of it. You're going to come out of it stronger, wiser. And when you stop paying attention, when you stop paying attention to the pictures, when you say, you know what? Fine. Fuck it. Have fun with the dude. Have fun putting off dealing with your emotions. I'm going to deal with it. It's going to hurt. And I'm going to come out happier. And I'm not going to give you any of my time. I'm not going to give you those tears that you're looking for. And by the time you've done moved on, actually dealt with the thick of it, she'll just, or he will just be dealing with it, you know? Avoiding pain, everybody does. That's why I keep saying for he, because this just isn't a girl thing. Now, I think it's the most common saying in the world that to move on, get under someone new. No, that's fucking stupid, because you're just avoiding dealing with the pain. The only way you can actually do that is to deal with it. Not do drugs, not get immediately with another person, and you'll come out of it. With my wife, I dealt with the pain. I'm over her. 6 months in, you know, after my wife cheated on me and put me through all the misery that she did, I was over her. And guess who started to want to come back? Pain sucks, but that picture that you're seeing on Instagram, that smile of that dude that you see her with, or the girl that you see your ex-boyfriend with, that isn't happiness. That is a photo meant to show you, I am pretending right now. I'm rubbing it in while you're at home alone, actually going through it. If your relationship ended because of you, read this. If your partner left you because you fucked up, let it be. It's done. Don't reach out. Let them find peace. What happened happened because you had something within you that you needed to overcome, because you would find love that would last. If it wasn't revealed in this relationship, ending it likely would be in a different one. You do not owe them despair or self-loathing. You cannot hate yourself into fixing what happened. It is not productive. You deserve peace too. What you owe them, yourself and your future partner, is an honest recognition of where you fell short. You owe it to them and yourself to come out of this a version of yourself that wouldn't have lost them. That is one hell of a way to put it. Exactly. To be the person that you are that would have made them proud is the growth that you need to make. Let the pain in, sit with it, then let it go. Make the effort to control your thoughts, or else they will control you. Dwelling on memories or hypothetical scenarios is holding you back. At a certain point, you have to surrender control over the situation and choose peace. Over time, the moments where you're not thinking about it will grow. It'll become fleeting moments where you feel like your world is falling apart all over again. Honor what you had by never letting it happen again. That's some real shit. My high school sweetheart, the only girl I've ever been in love with that I told you guys about on numerous occasions, I was 90% of the reason why that relationship failed. And I wish I could say that I got over it, because I try giving you guys the best advice that I can, but if I'm being honest with you, it's been 10 years. I'm never gonna forgive myself for messing that relationship up, because that's somebody that I honestly thought I was going to marry. We were two peas in a pod, and nobody that I have dated since her has made me feel the way that she has made me feel. And I messed that relationship up because my home life, all the shit I dealt with growing up, watching my mom being a narcissistic cheater, watching her having no sense of security, having no sense of self-worth because of the shit my mother would tell me, that started to show up. It unfortunately took ruining this relationship for me to understand that I had anxiety issues, that how I wasn't normal, that I had an extreme case of lack of self-esteem, which is why I was so goddamn insecure, and 90% of the problem. And while this doesn't get to be an excuse, a lot of people try using their mental illness or their trauma as an excuse to act a certain way. No. But recognizing what you did wrong and being the person and just trying to live your life in a way that would make them proud is key. Yes, every day I try to live my life in a way that would have made this girl proud. I haven't really dived too much in depth into that high school relationship because that one really hurt. It really did. And it does when you're young. As I said, it's not impossible to find the one that is your soulmate in high school. There's a lot of success stories out there with high school sweethearts. But you do change as a person in those ages, you know? And that's kind of what we did. But and she wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong. She crossed boundaries. She gave me reasons to be insecure and then gaslighted me whenever I was insecure. It's how I handled being insecure and those moments that weren't okay. And then because of those moments and the extreme lack of self-worth, arised constantly being paranoid, constantly being accusatory, and recognizing that it's going to hurt for the rest of my life, knowing that I lost somebody that could have been a lifelong relationship. And it wasn't we stayed together because we were only together for so long. That was me and my ex-wife. This could have been the one, and I fucked it up. I fucked it up, man. And she actually coincidentally came back into my life when I was 21, but I was so gone due to drug addiction and alcohol abuse that I couldn't stay sober for a day to even talk to her. And I will always regret making things fail with this woman, but the happy side to it, I suppose you could say, is that it made me aware of these issues that I needed to work on. It made me aware of why was I always insecure and accusatory? Why was I always making a big deal out of small things? Why was I this way? And it forced me to look at my life, at my mother, at my just the way I was. But losing her sent me down the road of recognizing I'm not normal. You know, these anxiety issues, I shouldn't be getting mad like about simple things like this. Why am I unable to let things go? Why am I so obsessively like thinking about these things? And losing her forced me to look at the fact that I'm not normal, recognize that I have issues, where they stemmed from, and how to deal with it. And having the self-awareness to recognize when it was you. If you know you're the reason that relationship didn't work, whether it's your relationship failed because you turned into two different people and you just fell out of love, or whether your relationship failed because you treated your partner like shit, that doesn't make you a piece of shit. What makes you a piece of shit is continuing to do the same things without admitting fault. That's what makes a shitty person, is continuing to do shitty acts, knowing that you're doing them, and refusing to look in the mirror and accept the fact that you are doing these shitty acts and to take accountability. That way you can grow as a person. And unfortunately, 90% of the population is that person. They refuse to take accountability for shit. And understanding why you had these impulses and what made you this way to ruin the relationship is very important. And that is the hardest thing to get over, is that you had a good someone that could have been a lifelong partner that got away because you weren't a good partner. And you have to, and like this person said, you can't dwell on it. You can't call yourself a piece of shit and tell yourself that you never deserve a good partner. The only thing you can do is honor what you had by never letting it happen again. That's absolutely correct. And so two different types of relationship enders. I would say the first one's the more common one, because this isn't. Having this self-awareness isn't. That's not very common. Most people don't want to admit that they are the person that fucked the relationship up. Or even if you weren't the person that fucked the relationship up, like with my wife, I was actually genuinely good to her, There are still things that I could have done better in that relationship. Had I had done those things better, would it have had the same result? Probably, but it's still important to recognize in any relationship that there are still things you could have improved on, because nobody is the perfect partner. And so even if, you were in a relationship where your partner was 90% of the problem, there's still things you should recognize that you could have done better. So I hope this helps. Losing a partner is hard, but in the case of it being just somebody that you spent years with, you grew into two different people, and now you're broken up. I know it's hard, but you go through the pain and you come out of it wiser and knowing who you need to be for the next person. And if it's a situation where you fucked up, where you were the problem, the only thing you can do is recognize that, work on that, and work on it every day, and not date again until you have it figured out, because you will have nothing to offer somebody until you have figured out these issues. They will always be present until you can recognize them, work on them, and get through them by yourself, not with filling that void with another person. I know that this shit hurts and that it feels like it won't ever go away, but it does. You think about it less and less. The hardest scenario are scenarios like these, where you lost someone good because you were the asshole. And that's what I'm struggling with. It's been a decade and I still don't forgive myself for fucking something that was so good up, I will live the rest of my life regretting that. But I'm a better man because of it. Had we have stayed together, I would have never learned, you know? And all I can do now is make that person proud by being the person that I needed to be for her, for someone else. And yeah, the shit isn't easy, and just know that you're not alone, and always reach out if you ever need anything. Alright guys, well, I hope that helps. I know that got kind of deep there. Two very different reasons for relationships ending, and I just wanted to make this. I'm really proud that my channel has become a place where you guys reach out for help on things, and I hope this does help. I know the second post is that's more kind of what I'm dealing with, just the regret of not being a good partner, you know, to someone that was really important to me. But unfortunately, it was a life lesson I needed to learn. And whether you're the good partner or the bad partner, each relationship, I think, is a stepping stone to make you the person that you're supposed to be for the right person. They're all lessons, you know, and pain makes us who we are. And I hope this helps somebody out there. I love you guys. Thank you for watching.